They used to say it was a game that I was playing with the bank. You know, like, I need to get those numbers out of there, like, before the new ones come in. And I had it down to science, like pennies before. Like, bam, I got a penny in there. Boom, paycheck hits the next day. It's like, yes. I don't have to live that way anymore. Don't really have many paychecks coming in. Sorry. So, what about some of the stuff that you hear from people who are saying that they're going to better their life and they're going to do this and they're going to do that? And then, you know, they could be friends of yours, they could be acquaintances, or, you know, maybe it's just a friend of yours reaches out and says, you know, this person, you know, is asking me for this and that, and then I look and they're doing this and that, and that doesn't really seem like someone who's really taking it serious. And why, you know, are they still asking me for things when, you know, clearly, you know, you can't call me up and say one thing and try to, I don't know what you're trying to do. And if you really need help, that's cool. That's fine. You know, I'll do what I can for you. But you can't come at me with the whole, hey, I need your help. I want to do this. And then the minute you think I'm not looking, you're out there buying fishing license, or, you know, you're out there, you know, trying to buy a Bigfoot license and trying to kill Bigfoot, you know, like, wait, how much did you spend on that Bigfoot license, you know? Because, you know, Bigfoot, he couldn't maybe not even exist, and you're wasting this money on Bigfoot, you know? Like, oh, I got this new tattoo, man. It's real cool, bro. Yeah, cool. You gonna pay me back that $500, you know? I see that you're rocking that new tattoo. That's pretty cool, bro. But how much was that? Oh, it's $450, man. It's killer. Has this girl's name on it. No. Anyway.
No, I've experienced that. I've had friends who I've loaned money to. Oh God, this was ages and ages ago, and I was in recovery program, drug court. I was on the straight and narrow. I was underneath the thumb of the judge or whatever, so made it a little different. But and one of my coworkers, I don't know, I was on this like thing. Now that you brought this up, wow, okay, where like, you know, I was working and I was feeling good about working. I was feeling good about being sober, and I was going to my meetings, and I was like really looked up to or whatever in my jobs and stuff. And one of my coworkers like didn't come into work one day. Come to find out, like her tire had blew on her car. And she lived out in, like, Grawn or someplace. And I was working at Holiday Inn, just doing banquets. And anyway, she was younger than me. And she'd gotten a ride to work, I guess, from her mom or something. But she was really upset, this tire, and she needed her tire fixed. And how was she going to work the rest of the week to get to work because she couldn't find a ride or whatever. And I loaned her the money, you know, to go and get herself a tire or whatever. And then she was still working, you know, because she could get to work because she had this tire, and I felt really good about it. But then, like, I got resentful when she wasn't paying me back after I know she'd gotten paid from work. But eventually she did pay me back. So that was in one case that was different. Then the other guy who I worked with, who asked because he wanted to pay his driver's responsibility fees off, wrote him a check, and then I have not to this day seen that money. But, you know, that's a wash. I'm not even going to, like, go after it. It's pointless.
Well,
it's like you should know better kind of thing, I guess.
You should, but sometimes when you meet people and they sweep you off your feet, you'll do things that you never would have thought you would have done.
It was.
Because that's what it is. But, Tyrone, what would you say about helping somebody out when they need some cash flow?
Well,
what did a wise man once tell you?
Well, sometimes let the person, if they need something, let them find another way. Only if you need the money. If you need the money to pay your bills or pay your rent, car note, something there. But if you have an extra, you might could take a chance on it. Only if you have an extra, but don't let it interfere with your lifestyle.
I agree with that.
And when you write that check or when you hand that money over, what can you expect, Tyrone? What did a wise man tell you?
Well, they told me that if you give a person something there, give it to them. If they give it back to you there, they give it back.
Sounds like a very wise man told you that.
Because that will destroy friendships, Mm-hmm. So if you have it, you give it to him, but don't expect it back.
Right. And I did that with friend Jamie. It's like, he's like, hey, can I borrow $20? What do you got in there? Can I borrow 20? No, because that's going to build resentments for me.
Right.
I had trouble giving it to him just because I was like, man, am I opening the door here for him? But I know as well as he knows, as well as you know, as well as Marty knows, we're going to get that money anyway, and I just didn't want to give it to him and then be the reason why he went out and drank. But then I told him, don't drink with this, don't borrow it. Here's 20. It's a gift, because you start expecting that back, and all that's going to do is it's going to eat me up inside.
Yep.
When I was having a hard enough time, just like, is this what am I enabling him to drink now? And you look at it like, okay, and he probably, and if he did, but I would do the same thing with my mom. She would give me money and say, don't drink on this. Okay, Mom, I won't. So I would use that 20 or whatever she would give me to put in my gas tank to buy food. Didn't drink on your 20, Mom. But I didn't tell her I had $18 in my bank account that I went out and spent $18 in alcohol. I got the cheapest stuff around, whatever I could do. But that enabled me to. Otherwise, I was going to have to spend that $18 on gas and food, and then I wouldn't have been able to drink.
Right.
So a roundabout way, yeah, I spent her money on alcohol. But in my mind, in active addiction, it made sense to me. Didn't spend your money, Mom. Not on alcohol. You saw me put it in the gas tank, didn't you? She didn't know I had $20 of pop cans at the house. I left that one out, didn't I? She asked me how much money I had in my account. I had 25 cents. But I didn't tell her about the other, it's stupid stuff like that, I guess I had to do it and I had to go through it to get where I'm at here today. So, do I wish I didn't do it? Sure. But at the same time, if I didn't do it, if I didn't relapse every single time, I would have never met you, Tyrone. Never would have met you, Marnie. Yep. So these things I've accepted and that they happen for a reason. Now, if somebody's listening right now and they're like, yeah, I do that stuff too, maybe it's time to change. Maybe if you're thinking, well, I really don't want to go to rehab. And rehab's not the answer. You're not going to save your life at a rehab. It might. It might. And so could listen to this podcast. Going to church, finding a group, finding a community group at church. There's so many different things that you can do and that you're going to have to do. Just by going to rehab, they're not going to give you the answers, man. You got to find out what it is that's eating you up inside. Tyrone, you and I had a conversation. We had an hour-long drive today, and we were talking about a young woman who seems to just go back at it, and we threw out a bunch of scenarios. Like, first of all, her boyfriend, friend is probably not a very good friend, because he's trying to hold her to these kind of standards where he's holding himself as like the gatekeeper to her sobriety or something, which is not healthy at all. And, for her to have to kind of face that from him is just unacceptable. And, to treat her like, oh, you piece of trash because you're doing this. How about have some compassion? How about say, hey, what's wrong? Like, why are you drinking? And maybe she's not an alcoholic. Maybe she's just a person who, when she doesn't have the kids once a week, likes to get effed up. Maybe, but after that, she's cool. That's not the kind of person I was. I had to drink every single day, like the shakes, the puking. It was bad. That's the kind I was. Yeah. I can't drink anymore. I can't drink once a week. That's not going to happen. But there are people that do,
right?
And that's fine. Some people can eat ice cream once a year. I can't. I gotta have a lot more than that. But it's the same thing. And okay, so she got drunk driving. Okay, maybe she got 2. Just because you get a drunk driving does not make you an alcoholic.
Right.
It means you made a bad decision, which usually happens when you drink anyway.
That's right.
So to get thrown into, you have to go to these AA meetings, you have to do this, you have to do that. It doesn't mean that you're an alcoholic, but then you start hanging out with these other people who are in recovery, and you're like, hey, I like this recovery lifestyle. I like these people that aren't drunk all the time. This is a different group of people. These people I can trust. But yet, on the weekend when she doesn't have her kids, she's like, I like to get effed up.
Right.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. You can do whatever you want in your life.
Right.
I'm living my life. I don't have time to live yours. I don't have time to be judging you for that. But those are the kind of people that I prefer probably not hang out with, you know, just because I don't think that would be good for my recovery. Right. But at the same time, that same person would probably know not to be calling me, wanting me to hang out when they're drinking, because I probably wouldn't be a very fun guy. I don't know. Those are some of the things that we were thinking. There's so many different scenarios to it that you really don't know what that other person is going to just because you met them at AA or just because you met them at NA meeting, or, you know, being in recovery is kind of the thing to do now. You know, they're talking about opening up recovery bars, which I think we should get 217 involved in and call it something else, like 217 Recovery Lounge. You know, we just kind of hang out, we can have meetings, talk about recovery, make chicken wings, eat pizza, barbecue. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff we could do. Play Guitar Hero. Whatever. I mean, just stuff to do that's fun in recovery that you don't have to, you know, be around drugs. But I also want to talk about some will say is leaving the scene of the crime, because something got brought up to Marnie earlier by a mutual friend of ours, and she's just like, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. And well, you weren't saying you can't do that, you were just saying going to a different state is not going to help you. You know, like,
oh yeah,
you know, running away isn't going to help you. You're going to go into the same problem if you can't control the problem at home. And that was around the people she hung out with, you know, the people that she allowed in her life, and decisions that she's still making that are just like, you just want to grab her and shake her. But what are you doing? Like, you say you want this, prove it. And for me, and I don't know if it's, we'll ask you in a minute here, Tyrone, but for me it was getting away from a place where I could use the codependency with my mom. Like, if I knew the electric bill was getting shut off, I thought there was a chance that she would pay it, you know, or at least do something to help me. And I needed to get away from that kind of safety net. You know, I had lived away from home for quite some time, but having that in the back of my head, just, it wasn't good, because that means, oh, I can drink today then, because why would I pay my electric bill? It'll get paid. I got to make sure I don't have the money. And I think getting away from that, and then just people around town always asking me about, you know, the radio and what happened, and some of them knew, and they were just like, man, they're a bunch of, you know, a-holes. And I'm like, yeah, they are. But for me, I think it was just getting away from the codependency. So that for me did help, but it wasn't because, oh, I kept hanging out with old Jimbo, or, you know, it wasn't because I kept hanging out with the same people or being around the same people constantly. Like, I never did that. But what about you, Tyrone? Like, leaving the scene of the crime, as they call it. Like, how'd that help you? Because I know you talk about it, and you say it was a huge factor of you being 8 months sober.
Yeah, well, leaving the scene of a crime is, to me, is that you always gonna carry you with you. And what that means to me is that you have to make the decision, because if you don't make the decision, you get out of control. And when you get out of control, bad things happen. You realize what's going on, but you can't control yourself, and you can't look at yourself in the mirror. You know, it's that's a hard subject there. You know, that's a real gut wrenching subject. You know, that's something you really have to gather yourself on that one there. You have to.
Because in your old neighborhood, you could probably still tell me when the buses come by, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you could probably tell me what three dudes are probably going to be standing out there.
That's right.
And which ones are the good ones to go to, and which ones are the bad ones to go to.
That's right.
That's bad.
Yes,
and if you have to take that bus, and you see that dude every single day, you know, that's